Well, that turned out to be private property down the way. So we shall go up. Tell you what, if you really want to work your foot muscles and the calves and the stabilizers around the ankles, walking around on terrain like this in Converse for extended periods of time will do the trick. Definitely helps build up ankle stability, that's for sure. I wonder why that's out there, the cement block. Like, why? For what? So, today's gym session was supposed to be heavy-ish deadlifts and the usual bench work, but like a bro day, you know. Mondays when I do the dumbbell presses and the pec deck. Well, I must not have been recovered from the squats on Saturday and the kettlebell long cycle yesterday, which is probably really what did it. But deadlifting a meager 275 pounds, far from my max, was actually hard. So after I realized how difficult that was, I just knocked it down. Or I'm sorry, yeah, the 275 was hard, but I did throw on another 25. I did a 325. I did a top single at 325. So I finally understand what they mean when they say do a top single at RPE, 6, like my program from Matt Vina on Boost Camp. It's the free one, says to do. But like, obviously being super fatigued from the squat day, and I did heavy triples on bench too, and then the kettlebell session I did yesterday, that 325 felt like an 8 or a 9. So yeah, I understand that now. And I stopped doing the deadlifts. I knocked it down to 225, and I did a set of 6 on Romanians. And I went over to the bench press, and like, I worked up to 185 and I did 3 sets of 5, and I was like, you know what? Kind of cooked. So I stopped benching, went over and did a flat dumbbell press, just 60 pounds, 3 sets of 12. But on the last set, I did 1 arm dumbbell press. And the reason I did 1 arm dumbbell press, I did 12 reps on the right and then switched to the left. I am stronger on my left side. And yeah. So I've been doing single arm dumbbell press. I'm going to start doing it regularly. And the reason is to try to even out the amount of force that I apply to the barbell on each side. So that way, ideally, everything is equal. So, yep, stronger on the left, even though my left shoulder was screaming, probably because all the overhead work I did yesterday. Anyway, after that, I did some preacher curls with 25 pounds, 3 sets to failure in each arm. I do them one at a time so I can really focus on the arm and the stretch. Because when I train biceps, I'm either training really heavy and just trying to heave the weight up and then control it on the way down, or I am doing it with lighter weight and I'm really focusing on the contraction. Because, like, I don't want to just be strong. I want to look fucking jacked. And that is how you get jacked. You got to mix it up. So, after that, I moved on to, like, I didn't feel it today. So, I think I'm just going to turn around. This is going to take me back to the main road, but, like, go way out of the way. So now I'm just going to go back this way, go down and around the way I started, and back up into familiar territory. I can't stand walking on just like concrete road when there isn't really anything around. Like, I'll walk on a wooded dirt mud trail all day long, but this bores me. There's nothing to be gained from this. It's not the same energy. But yeah, anyway, after I did that, what else did I do? Oh, I did some T-bar row. It was just how much weight did I put on? 60 or 70 pounds, I don't remember. And I just did 3 sets to failure, wide grip on the T-bar row. Because some jackasses were doing dumb shit with the pull downs. So I like the T-bar row, I just did that. And then to try to get my forearms feeling good again, I just did some tricep push downs with 60 pounds, 3 sets to failure, just to kind of get some blood into there. And then I went walking. Like I said, when it's nice out, I'm not standing in the gym doing the treadmill. That's terrible, honestly. Like, I'm not gonna do that when I can go outside in the beautiful early autumn weather and walk through the neighborhood. So, yep. Not the kind of gym session I was hoping for. But yeah, it just goes to show, like, the crazy high intensity kettlebell stuff I can't do with the powerlifting training. It is too demanding. Like, just doing the powerlifting stuff with the heavy, the heavy triples, the fives, the heavy singles every week. That's manageable, but when I try to throw the kettlebell sport lifts in, it's too much. I can't recover from both. Maybe if all I did was train, eat, and sleep, but like I have to work and do normal people day-to-day things, so it really isn't sustainable to do both. So it is something that I have to pick one or the other to focus on. It doesn't mean I can't do kettlebells, but I need to be smart about it. So just basically swings is what I'm thinking. Maybe some clean and press once a week in an intelligent manner. So, like, instead of doing barbell presses for my shoulders, I take my 24s and I just do 30 minutes of 4 reps on the minute, clean and press, something like that. But the long cycle and the snatch and the jerk are just movements that, like, and I kind of knew they weren't going to work with it, because when I was doing them consistently 3, 4, 5 times a week, and I would try to go to the gym, my numbers were shit. Like, they were absolute trash. Because that type of high volume, max effort, explosive work, that's the shit that's actually fatiguing your nervous system. Lifting heavy doesn't really fatigue the nervous system very much. The most difficult part about training heavy is the mental aspect of it. But once you get under the weight and you're like, oh yeah, that's not gonna crush me or anything, it's kind of exhilarating. But yeah, like, heavy training done intelligently is not going to fatigue the nervous system. The high volume, explosive, maximal explosive movements, even though the weight is relatively light, that is what fatigues. Like, that's the only type of training where I felt true fatigue, is with my crazy, batshit insane kettlebell work. So I do have to question what good it really is practically, but I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy that type of training. Look at that moss covered log. Isn't that just fucking great? Look at that. That's just fantastic. I love that kind of shit. And that rock and that smell, I could stay here forever, guys. Oh, I do love this type of weather that we're coming into, this late summer, early autumn. That smell is unmatched. Completely unmatched. But anyway, back to the training log here. Yeah, high intensity kettlebell training with the sport lifts combined with powerlifting, it's not sustainable. And I would imagine that it would be even less sustainable if you were to run a bodybuilding program, because high rep type of training like that also is more of a hindrance to CNS fatigue than heavy training. Yeah, so if you're gonna train all in on kettlebells and practice the sport lifts, you really have to go all in on kettlebells. You're not gonna have the ability to recover from heavy, hard weightlifting and or bodybuilding training. And the way you get stronger with barbells, barring being a genetic freak, is you repeatedly, multiple times a week, lift heavy weights or relatively heavy weights in those movements. That's how I was able to get stronger. Not that I'm anything right now, but I have added, I've added about 40 pounds to my max bench press the past 4 weeks. I've added probably around 30 pounds to my max squat, and my deadlift I have added about, the last top single I did was 365, and it wasn't that bad. And then I failed going up to, before the 365, when I tweaked my back, I was going for 415, and I failed that and kind of overextended my back. Since then, I have pulled 365, and I have done 315 for multiple sets of 5. It was pretty easy. I've done 335 for sets of 3, and it was pretty easy. So all in all, the past 4 weeks, I've added a little over 100 pounds to the main 3 lifts. And obviously that has carryover to every other lift, because my rowing strength has improved, even though that was already pretty damn good. But with my pull downs, for example, I've added about 60 pounds to those, both variations that I do. I do a mid grip pull down, and I didn't notice that trail there on the way up. I do a mid grip pull down, and I do a close grip pull down, and I've added about 30 pounds to each one. So yeah, my leg press, I can leg press for reps 10 plates. So like I can add why is that chained? I don't know. Yeah, I can put a lot of weight. When I say 10 plates on leg press, I mean 5 on each end, not 10 on each end. That's a little ridiculous. So 5 on each side was kind of tough after a squat session. Mind you, I have never done leg press with the intent to fully do leg press and see what I could really do. It's always a finisher, or I'll put it on a deadlift session with no squats. So I never do it fresh. But anyway, I went from 10 plates, 5 on each side, so I'll just say 5 plates. I think it is more colloquially known as 5 plates. And I did 6 plates for sets of 12. And that was after a max deadlift. So, yeah. When you get stronger at the compound lifts, in my experience anyway, maybe not everybody, but in my experience, everything else goes up. Every other lift goes up. The strength overall goes up. And even when I had gone back to the kettlebells, the 24s felt very, very easy, very manageable. The conditioning for that long term was not there. But the way I was able to handle the weights was way better than it's ever been before. So, yes, getting physically stronger at the squat, bench, and deadlift makes you stronger overall everywhere else. Despite what some of these online bodybuilders will tell you, that powerlifting doesn't work, and you'll look like shit, and you won't even be that strong, and blah, 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 fucking blah. I do not like the so-called noble natties, natural bodybuilder people on YouTube. I think they suck. I'm not a fan of bodybuilding training because I think it sucks. It sucks for me, at least. Put it that way. Because to me, if you're not lifting weights to get stronger, then what are you doing? You're lifting to look a certain way. But if you just added weight to the bar and your frame and did big compound multi-joint movements, you would look better and be stronger. So to me, this has been a good experience. Like actually training intelligently, this style of training I've really enjoyed. So I'm going to keep doing that. The kettlebells will go to the side for a while. I'm sure I'll come back at some point. But I cannot do both at the same time. And look, some little asshole had to graffiti this. I can't even make out what that says, but some dickhead had to graffiti that because they are trash. Trash tier people. Trash tier people. I'm not gonna speculate what race the individual was because it doesn't really matter. Trash is trash and graffiti is trashy. So if you're white and you graffiti, fuck you. You should know better. Look at that interesting spiral on that tree. That's pretty neat. So nice back here. I cannot believe. Well, first of all, I missed the trail on the way up. Completely missed this trail. And secondly, I never knew any of this was back here to begin with. And like I said, I lived over on this end of town as a teenager for about 10 years before I moved to the other end of town. So, yeah. Crazy. And look, if I want to go back the way I came, I could just hop this here fence, wade through that little river, climb up that hill, and there we go. Of course, I imagine this will wrap around and probably lead out, is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it probably leads out at some point. I just don't know where. But yeah, this is long enough of a video. Like I said, I was going to start making more content more consistently about whatever the fuck I feel like, because, oh, there it is again. More spirals on the trees. Very, very nice. Very interesting vine work there. Good job, nature. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Probably shit like this because, guys, I'm telling you, that smell, it is fantastic. Anyway, there's a lot of shit going on in the world. And, you know, sometimes I just don't like to think about it. And like, yeah, when I'm out here, or when I'm focusing on the next big lift, you know, I don't think about any of that shit. And it's peaceful, and it's nice, and it's relaxing, and I can just exist. Squirrely. Little gray squirrel over there. That's pretty neat. Yeah, so stuff like this I enjoy. This is what I do in my free time. I don't really play video games anywhere near as much as I used to. If the weather's good, I don't do this in the summer. It's too hot. I don't like the heat. I can't do the heat, so I never do this in the summer. But late summer, autumn, basically up until there's ice everywhere, and because I hate slipping on ice, I'm not gonna do that. But like some snow, don't care about snow. Cold, I love the cold. It's really just ice. And where I live, when it gets cold and snows, what tends to happen is that it warms up a little bit, just enough for the snow to melt, and it ices over everywhere. It's a total pain in the ass. Well, yeah, I've been walking for over an hour now. Just giving you guys little snippets, little recordings of the beautiful manicured nature. And I do, you know, philosophically, nature in its purest form is brutal, vicious, and savage. But man, specifically white men, tamed nature to an extent. And we learned to live with it. And it's good. We became masters of the environment type shit. Look at that old bird bath with the fake squirrel. I wonder who put that there. Actually, like you can't drive a car back here. So somebody carried that back and put it there. Interesting. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, you know, we didn't destroy it. We just made it something that you can live in without little fairy assholes trying to steal your kids and prank you. Not that I bear no ill will toward the Fae, but if you look up the stories, they're not like Disney fairies. If you actually look up Fae, I don't think that they exist in North America, though I think they're tied to Europe, but I might be wrong. I don't know. The natives have a ton of tales of their own. And by the way, I respect Native American culture. I really do. Not all of them, because unlike the left, I realize that they were not an homogenous group. There were certainly violent, vicious, brutal savages who needed to be taken out. But, you know, I do like the idea of, and it is mostly an idea. Look, another gray squirrel. Probably didn't see him, but it is mostly Hollywood propaganda, you know, living with nature and all that good shit. But I like the idea. And I don't have any problems with a warrior culture, so to speak. Obviously, I don't have any problems with that. So yeah, it's very nice out here. I think I'm gonna give this to like the half-hour mark, and then just shut it off and try to find my way out of here. I have to. Ooh, look at that. I don't know, maybe there's a troll in there. No. Nope, there's no trolls. You would have a good chance of taking me out, though. I don't have any weapons. But yeah, I'm gonna let this go to the half-hour mark, and then I can hear traffic, so I'm close to a road somewhere. I have no idea where. I really don't know where I am, but now I hear vehicles, which kind of sucks because, you know, I enjoy just hearing the wind and the water and the sound of my own voice. No, I actually hate the sound of my voice. I think it's terrible, but ooh, I see something that looks like potentially a big ass spider nest or something up in that tree. When I get a better look at it, I'll zoom in it if the sun doesn't fuck it up. Yep. Let me turn it around, and it's like a cocoon thing right there. I have no idea what's in there, and honestly, I don't want to know. I'm not the biggest fan of spiders. Not at all. Nope. I do believe in the tails of the giant ones, though. In certain places. Not here. Probably not here. I seriously doubt it. Oh, look, that looks like Skyrim right there. Bam! You go outside and look, you see Skyrim. Alright, that is all. I'm done recording shit, I think, because this is half an hour. And this trail is never ending, apparently. So, I gotta figure out where I am and then go back home because I have to pee. And, I'm not hungry. I had 2 body armors, so we're good to go. I'm carbed and hydrated again. I just have to piss. And I don't want to do that out here. So, peace.